Find out 5 hidden gems from The Cure that you should add to your life right now. These are fantastic songs that were never singles, but are every bit as great with the stories behind them next on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. Subscribe right now to join this community so that you are always in the know on our latest videos or interviews. You can also join our Patreon to help us keep the music alive, be part of that, curating this great history. Now, in my humble opinion, The Cure is simply one of the greatest bands in the history of music. I mean, they're exquisitely unique, and frankly, they're unrepeatable. Though Robert Smith and company have influenced scores of bands that have followed, they have created music that it's so intensely magical and so deliciously soul invigorating, it's almost impossible to try and define it. I'm sure that my story with this band is really no different than your own. They were one of the musical institutions that saved me in the youthful coming of age period of deep confusion and overpowering despair that is high school. Robert Smith is just one of the most gifted poets and singers of any era, going back centuries. I mean, I'm going to spend many more hours in the future celebrating their deep and expansive collection of songs and albums, but today I just wanted to focus on 5 hidden gems, non-singles, album tracks, B-sides. The Cure has so many that are better than their hits even, and I want to cover 5 today that you should either discover or revisit. They're life-changing and just massively essential. So let's get right into it. Number 5, 6 Different Ways. From The Cure's 1985 album, Big Head on the Door. This song is a huge boiling pot of just quirky sounds that come together in such a delightful way. You're gonna find yourself whistling it for days on end.
This is stranger than I thought.
Robert Smith's vocal stretches and strains across this strange concoction that just works so perfectly. My group of friends and I would try to decode the lyrics. What is Robert Smith going on about here?
It's that American voice again. It was never.
One of my friends tried to convince me that the song was, I can't even repeat it. His interpretation of the song might be the most disgusting and strangest take that I've ever heard about any pop song. And of course, it turns out that he was wrong, and really, we were all wrong. In an interview, Robert Smith said that 6 Different Ways is about multiple personalities. And after I heard that, it made perfect sense because that's what each instrument sounds like. Robert would then say, and I quote, Pearl Thompson, now Pearl Thompson, has always been a great guitarist, and Boris Williams is an extraordinary drummer. We could never have attempted 6 Different Ways before because we never had a drummer who could play 6/8 time. It was a great feeling to be in a band that played well. I thought we could jam, should we so desire. A lot of the lyrics came out of really weird conversations that we were having in the studio. We had this fatuous argument about how many ways there were to skin a cat. The inanity was staggering, and someone said there are definitely 6 different ways, and it just seemed like a nice title because of the 6/8 time. End of quote. That was all Robert Smith. The thing about The Cure that sets them apart from every band, from that era and any era, is that they invented their own distinct sound that is indelibly The Cure, but at the same time, they can do something that's completely different than anything that they've ever done from song to song. And 6 Different Ways is a really great example of this phenomenon. I mean, it's undeniably The Cure with the delayed guitar swirls, the resounding drums, the lush synthesizers. But then the synths become ever so whimsical. The piano line is atypical of them. And then the abbreviated synth medley part. Like I said, it's a very odd collection of sounds in 6/8 time, and its unconventional approach is really what makes it to fall all into place. Number 4, The Same Deep Water as You, from The Cure's masterpiece, 1989's Disintegration. Quite simply, Disintegration is the pet sounds of post-punk. It's as darkly satisfying as an album could ever hope to be. The Same Deep Water as You is one of a few select songs that songwriter Robert Smith considers very, very special and personal to him. It's the longest song on Disintegration, and even though it's over 9 minutes long, and though it was never released as a single, it's still one of the most beloved songs by true Cure fans in the catalog, really.
Can't you see I tried?
The song is about, as far as I can tell, an epic and passionate love affair that seems to be cursed, with Robert as the narrator admitting that he is not up to her emotion and loyalty. It's as heart-wrenching as it is haunting.
Kiss me goodbye.
I mean, if you know the album, it came from Disintegration. The song that comes before it is Prayers for Rain. It's the sound of thunder that begins the song. So Robert, in a sense, gets what he desires. The storm that follows is so immense that Robert, as the narrator, drowns.
Very last thing before I go.
In an interview with Spin Magazine the year Disintegration was released, Robert said of The Same Deep Water as You, and I quote, "I'm really proud of what we have done. In my mind, there's a little part of me with Cure songs in it, and it's got Siamese Twins, Faith, Figurehead, 17 Seconds, and now this new track, The Same Deep Water as You, has gone straight into that part of me. Even if this album fails, it doesn't matter. It's been worth it," end of quote. In the same interview, he talked about the powerful emotions that he felt when he recorded vocals for the song and how it ultimately affected him. He said, again, and I quote, "You realize the futility of the days that go by when you don't feel you need to experience anything. Unfortunately, in the past, that's led me into self-indulgence and excess, driving the group onwards and downwards to ever greater feats of excess. Your emotional, physical, and mental tolerance levels keep going. They keep going up, so it's almost impossible to be surprised or delighted or shocked in a childlike way anymore. When you do recapture that feeling, it makes it even more painful because you realize that it's still there and unattainable. When I was singing The Same Deep Water as You in the studio, I was completely overcome for about 15 minutes. I was amazed that I could still feel like this about something, which made it more disappointing when I woke up the next day and I didn't feel anything at all," end of quote. The man is brilliant. Brilliant. He further explained that the song is about the expectations people have from you and how you never can live up to those expectations. Robert Smith deeply felt stated emotions are the reasons why he speaks to our very souls. Number 3, The Perfect Girl from the 1987 album Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. Now, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me was an epic album with the deeply cathartic and beautiful catch. You know, the swinging, brassy epic, Why Can't I Be You? The perfect, lush pop extravaganza, Just Like Heaven. And the jangle rock slash soulful symphony of Hot, Hot, Hot. It's an album of variety and variance, and a hidden gem among hidden gems is the spine-tingling and exquisite ecstasy of The Perfect Girl. I mean, this song is only 2.5 minutes long, and yet Robert Smith makes every single second count as he whips you around the room with his sumptuous and palatial vocal. Classic Robert Smith when he says, "You're such a strange girl, the way you look like you do." And just when you think he's putting the object of his affection down, he pulls back and launches the haymaker. "You're such a strange girl, I want to be with you." The song starts with a mind-bending bass line and then darts into a jumpy and eccentric piano before Robert takes it away. The Perfect Girl was actually originally brought to the group by bassist Simon Gallup. Robert Smith said of the song, and I quote, "Shiver and Shake was my male kind of song. The Perfect Girl was a very female song." think that's probably why the album had such a huge appeal and why it did so well. End of quote. Yeah, I remember I wrote the lyrics out to this song inside of a love letter to a girl when I was in the 10th grade, and then created what I felt was my masterpiece mixtape.
I think I'm falling in love with you.
I mean, had all the great bands of my palette, you know, from The Cure to the Smiths to the Sundays, Book of Love, Thompson Twins, the Cocteau Twins, New Order, the Ocean Blue, OMD, the Spent Poets, and so many more. I even called the mix The Perfect Girl, and I gave her this tape. She never said a word to me. I wish I could have that mixtape back. It was really my best. But that's what Robert Smith did so well. He wrote music that matched the way we all felt, and it allowed us to express ourselves through his creations instead of, you know, keeping it all trapped inside. He spoke for all of us, misfits, outcasts, hopeless romantic, deep thinking adolescents, but he didn't just speak for us, he spoke to us. Never preaching, always enlightening. Big difference between the artists of today versus the artists of the new wave. Number 2, Harold and Joe, the flip side of The Cure's brilliant 1990 single Never Enough, which was the lead single off of the remix compilation Mixed Up. These 2 tracks were the only new songs released for the album, as the rest of the material is comprised of old and new remixes of the band's classic songs, you know, Pictures of You, Close to Me, In Between Days, so many more. I gotta say, I love this album. Forrest, that mix is great too. I listened to it on repeat for so many months in the years that I truly discovered new wave music. It was amazing. This is one of my favorite flip sides ever, and I always thought it was good enough for the bright lights of a proper single release. You know, there's a lot of speculation as to what this song is about. In the Join the Dots booklet from the box set of The Cure's B-Sides and Rarities, it's said that Harold and Joe are none other than the characters of Harold Bishop and Joe Mangel from the Australian soap Neighbours, which is very big in the UK. Robert has stated that Simon came up with the title because he came up with the music during the time that he was watching Neighbours.
That is my plant. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if these were all my plants. I can't believe this of you, Joe.
While creating the riveting song, he coined the title and just kept it for good fun. As Robert would later say in an interview, and I quote, "Harold and Joe are creatures of Simon's mind," end quote. Someone asked Robert Smith if he was intentionally trying to sound like Lloyd Cole, who sang the beautiful song Rattlesnakes.
She looks like evening sun on the wall.
Robert corrected the interview with his always lightning quick wit. It's supposed to be Frank Sinatra, he would say. Harold and Joe has that very melancholy and dreamy opening that just almost swallows you whole before Robert starts his whispering vocal. The music is just magically haunting and heart-achingly sad. When Robert sings that nothing ever gets in my way, nothing ever gets on my mind, nothing ever makes me stop to think about, nothing of the kind.
Nothing of the kind.
It's just a smidgen of the things that never affect him. It's apathy at its finest or at its worst. It describes Generation X's relationship with the world at that moment. Prozac Nation, indeed. As Robert ends the song, you're left with no real answer, and so you continue the search for some kind of happiness.
Harold and Joe, go, go, go.
It's the search in The Cure's music that always soothed us on our way down that beaten path, which brings me to the epic song that becomes the pot of gold in our search. Before I go into that song, I do want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear. These glasses they're straight up awesome. You know, I design my own pair, like I say, Morrissey, James Dean, Buddy Holly, whoever. I do it myself, and you can do it at the link below. You're gonna love it. Number 1, the epic and magnanimous Plain Song. The extraordinary opener to The Cure's, like I said, irrefutable masterwork, Disintegration. I mean, this song is as grandiose as any opener in The Cure's discography, and that's really saying something. It's just a song that sets the soul on fire, and it makes the heart burst with emotion. It's lush. Can anyone really describe The Cure without saying lush every 5 seconds? They're like the undisputed definition of the word, the music that they make. Anyway, the lush orchestral melodies initiate us as listeners to the incomparable album with such a seismic escalation of emotion. It's over 2.5 minutes before you even hear Robert Smith's gorgeous poetry. So in case you're wondering, I've read that plainsong is the name for Gregorian chants and other Catholic liturgies. Truth is, this song has an overwhelming, enchanting, and transfixing reverberation. When first experiencing this song at 13 years of age, it felt like a melancholy teenage religious chant for the soul. Song is etched in an almost sedated internal expression between two individuals, communicated in Robert Smith's very rarely expressed soft delivery. Did that in Harold and Joe as well. It doesn't contain the usual song structure, verse, chorus. It doesn't need to. It's such a perfect preparation for our foray into Pictures of You. The heavenly synth arrangement is lifting, and the chimes ebb and flow with the mesmerizing bass lines that act as a colorful collision with the words that Robert sings, especially when he says, "I think it's dark and it looks like it's rain. You said, and the wind is blowing like it's the end of the world. You said, and it's so cold, it's like the cold if you were dead. And then you smiled for a second." The echo of Robert's voice in this song, it's indescribable. It's such a powerful musical expression that to even use words to try and describe it would seem blasphemous. Robert Smith once said of the song, and I quote, "I wanted something very lush," there it is, very orchestral. "Plainsong enlightens different aspects of an obsession," end of quote. Brilliant. Keyboardist Roger O'Donnell once said, "I remember the day we recorded Plainsong. It was all done in the control room, and Robert showed me what to play, and for some reason that day he wasn't talking. I think he was massively hungover, so we did it all with him writing notes." It was hilarious. He played the big chords. They were very Robert, just sort of playing every note you could at the same time. The song is in C, so it's all the white notes, and just about every one of them was played in that song. End of Roger's quote there. This song, it's always seemed to me like part one of an epic trilogy of obsession and loss, along with, Pictures of You.
I've been living so long with my pictures of you.
And Close Down.
My heart with love.
Disintegration is a masterpiece of the 80s and beyond. It's so great that I often wonder if any artist, any band will ever get within miles of its illustrious and heart-wrenching landscapes of the soul ever again. I hope so. As I said at the start of this, Robert Smith is truly the giant of the latter half of the rock era. He just is. He gets us. And it's not only that he gets us, it's also that he is able to perfectly communicate those experiences of despair, rapture, human frailty in the most elegant, joyous, and sorrowful fervor of spirit that our beings can sparsely take it. It's so much for the soul to bite off, and that's why The Cure is eternal, and why the music that they created will continue to take our deepest feelings hostage in the most beautiful way. Leave us a comment about these songs and this life-changing band. What are your hidden gems from The Cure, and what are your experiences with the songs that I've mentioned? They're so great. If you like our content, we do invite you to subscribe, to be a part of a community that really goes deep into music, what the emotion is. To hear these songs, click on our playlist below. To get The Cure's music and their merch, click on our Amazon links below. Make sure to check us out on Patreon for even more content, and you can help us keep the music alive. It is so important to talk about this music and pass it on to the next generation. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends. Stay safe out there.